great day, attractive thinker, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. This is where you'll find the mental tools and resources that you need as a new and aspiring entrepreneur to help you overcome those obstacles and those distractions and frustrations along the way while you're writing your books and launching your business ideas. Welcome my co-host Tichet Bradshaw to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it and we'll make it again and again to do what we never did, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have. It's such a great day to be alive.
Yes, it is. And we're just going to jump right in. Attractive thinkers and visual encouragers, we trust that you have enjoyed last week's episode of Beyond the Break and that you studied your notes. I know you have your attractive thinker notebooks handy right now because we be dropping those gems and we don't want you to miss any one of them because you're going to need them. You need these gems when you're writing your books and launching your business ideas or changing and transforming your life in whatever way you desire to do that. You need these attractive thinker tools and these mental reminders and this visual encouragement because it's an effort. You have to put forth effort to do something new. You have to use energy to do something new. And guess what? Life is not going to happen just because you decided to increase your life or step into a grander version of yourself. So what's really going on here? When life happens in the midst of you accomplishing your goals or facing change or transformation, Tichet, talk to us today. What's really going on here?
Absolutely. We have to understand that there's so much more to life than what we see, right? You always say, Dr. Toni, you help us see beyond what we're looking at and have the courage to focus on it till it manifests. That's such a powerful, iconic statement because there's so much more to what's really going on than what we physically think it is. Or what we originally think it is. There's intention behind things, there's energy behind things, there's purpose behind things. There's a lot of different things that is taking place in certain situations and circumstances. It's our focus that helps us to get through those situations. So for instance, I've learned recently about the law of polarity, and with the law of polarity, there's always two sides to every coin. There's always hot and cold. There's always up, down. There's always in, out, and you don't see one without the other. But here's the thing: where there's bad, there's always good. Now, sometimes we might have situations that are not. We don't really like the results of them. We don't like how that makes us feel. There is less wanted, right? And we see that it's hurtful, it drains us, it feels bad, so we think. But can you ever imagine out of the situation that taking the most from you is also the situation that gave the most to you? So where you felt like you lost power, you were also given power, giving you focus on it, right? So for me, specifically, when one of the times where I felt like I was extremely broken and lost, I've realized that was the time where I was awakened, and the time where I was given a new life is where I felt like my life was completely crashed. Sometimes when you get to where they say you get to the rock bottom, when you hit rock bottom, and you feel like you're in pieces, this is where your new life is discovered. This is where you say it's only up from here. You went as low as you can possibly go. And now it's only up from here. You begin to pick up your pieces. And as you pick up those pieces in your life, you begin to understand what these pieces are. You start looking at which piece goes where and understanding different pieces of yourself, different ideas about yourself, different things about yourself. You start really paying attention to what piece is what of yourself, right? And then you start to put them together to see if this one goes with that one, if that one goes to that one. Then you have to distinguish what is pieces that is not a part of you. Because when you break open and you're in pieces, and you're in pieces on a platform, everything that's in that pile of rubble is not part of you. Everything that's in that pile of rubble does not come back when you are put back together whole. There's some stuff that's going to have to stay on that on the floor where you crashed, right? So when you start putting the pieces together, you get the pieces that are recognizable, and you start putting them together. This is helping you understand who you are as a person, where normally you might have just sat on a shelf as a beautiful piece of as a beautiful vase, right? But once you crack under pressure, once you break, the value of you comes into the forefront, because it's like, oh my gosh, that was so important to me. What, you ever have somebody break something that you had sitting on the shelf for months? As soon as they break it, you realize how important it is. And then what you do is you put it together, and then you all of a sudden now you want to protect it. Now you want to make it better than it is. Now you want to put it into play because it was at risk of losing it. Well, when you were at risk of losing yourself, now you understand the value of yourself. Now you understand what you bring to the table, what's a part of you and what's not a part of you. So sometimes the break has to happen in order for you to gain access to the life you've been called for. Now, this is why we do Beyond the Break, because we want to show you that, yes, we do go through breaks, but once that break is over, there's life beyond that break. And then once we discover that life is beyond that break, and we go to build ourselves back up, when we look back, we see that what we thought happened wasn't really what's happened. There was a whole different story playing out in the midst of, there was a whole different story playing out in the midst of the pain, in the middle of while we were going through those situations and circumstances. I'll give you an example. I was moving last year. I was renting out a home, and my landlord at a time was selling the home, and I really liked the home, but I couldn't stay. And at first I was upset, but I didn't realize that it was time for an upgrade. I remember telling my sister that the problem. See, you got to be careful how you tell your problems too, right? Because we don't tell them with a sob story. We tell them with an opening to, okay, this is what it could possibly be, and things like that. This is why you also have to be careful who you tell your problems to. You have to tell it to a person that is receptive in a powerful state of mind. So I was telling my sister, my landlord, wants me to go, and he's selling the house from under us, and we have to move, and this, that, and the other. And the first thing they say is, man, I know, she said, I know you about to upgrade, don't you? I said, you know it. I said, if I got to go through this, I'm going to make it count. And I said, so I'm not accepting anything less than what I have. And they said, well, my sister said, well, I support you. I support you. And so as we go on this journey of trying to find a home, it was rough. I'm not going to lie. It was rough. We were 3 days from being homeless before we found the one. We have turned down so many homes and got turned down on so many homes. And see, that's another thing. We look at the rejection, and you might take that rejection and take it so personal and be like, well, no, I'm not going to have anything. If I can't have this, I'm not going to have anything. But that rejection was because that was not assigned to you. So here's what's really going on. When that landlord decided to sell the place, it wasn't personal for me. It wasn't a personal attack against me. It was time for me to upgrade, and I didn't know it. Because if he had not done that, I would have held on to that which I was making do with. It was good for that season, but for where I was going, it was time for me to upgrade, and I didn't know. But sometimes we hold on so tightly to stuff that we end up losing out on the ability to have an experience that will cause us to see life with new views and have new motives and new ideas and things like that, because we hold so tightly to what we're used to. We hold tightly to the comfort zone. So him selling a house pushed me out of that comfort zone. And I'm going to tell you what, in this day, I am so grateful that he sold that home from under me, because I couldn't love where I am even more. I couldn't love where I am. And so what was really going on, and what's really going on is two different things. What's going on is he was selling a home. I had to move. I was going out and visiting homes, and people was coming in my home, and it felt invasive. But what was really going on is he was preparing me for the next season of my life. Back to you, Dr. Tony.
Wow, I like that. He was preparing me. That's part of the title of my first book. Don't be afraid, he's preparing you. And while you were talking to Shet, some things were coming up that I want attractive thinkers to really capture in your attractive thinker notebook. You were talking about the things that happened that were contrary to your desires or unexpected. And you said the journey to acquiring your new home was rough. And I'm listening to you and all of these parts and pieces and how they're moving into play. And you mentioned polarity, and I'm thinking that these things are happening and coming together, and some of them are favorable and some of them are unfavorable, but they're working towards a common goal, which is balance. All of life is working towards balance and harmony, meaning the good and the not so good. That's why scripture says all things work together for good, meaning the good and the not so good is coming together, and it's going to be good. And 9 times out of 10, when we look back on our experiences, even though there are experiences that are not so tasteful that we wish would have never happened, we still are able to not just pull good from it, but we're grateful for where we are now. And we understand that that was a part of that process to getting us to where we are in this grateful state that we're in now, with more clarity and more understanding and more purpose and meaning and fulfillment in our lives. So what we're talking about today, attractive thinker, is what's really going on. And Tichet, you broke that down because on a physical plane, we see you moving or attempting to move in from one home to another. But on a spiritual plane, on a mental plane, on an emotional plane, on a social or intellectual plane, there was a whole lot of things going on simultaneously while you were physically attempting to move from one house to another. You learned spiritual lessons. You picked up gems along the way that you can use going forward for other ventures in your life. And it played on your mental capacity, your emotional capacity, your faith, the spiritual aspect of yourself. All of that was being affected while the physical was being affected as well. So because we're multidimensional beings, what's really going on is there's a shift happening on all levels of us. It's impossible for one area of our lives to be affected and it not affect all the other areas of our lives. This is what we're sharing with you today, Attractive Thinker, to help you understand what's really going on beneath the surface. The surface is the physical, what you can physically see, but you can, unless you have an attractive thinker eye and you step into that and begin to use it and view your life from that perspective, you can't see what's going on beneath the surface, beneath the physical. So what's really going on is life is supporting you in reaching your goal. Even if you say, well, Dr. Toni, I never had a goal. I didn't say I wanted anything. And then all of this stuff happened and I stepped into a defining moment that I didn't even ask for. Well, could it be that life was supporting you in being a greater version of yourself, or reaching a higher potential, or shifting and positioning and steering and moving you in a place where, as you have more meaning and fulfillment in your life, you're able to express more of yourself. Sometimes, to shed in life, we need things that we don't know we need. We can reach levels of potential that we don't know that we're capable of. Whitney Houston said, I didn't know my own strength. I didn't know my own strength. Think about that. We have strength for things that we don't know that we have this strength for. And to share, we have strength that we're afraid to use. A lot of people, I've coached attractive thinkers for years, and a lot of times I hear the same repetitive statement. I didn't ask for this, or I don't want strength for this. Now I have my own personal experience that I didn't want strength for what I had to go through. I kept trying to check out. I kept looking for a way out, but I was so connected to it, and the type of experience that I had to face, there was no way of disconnecting from the experience. If I flew from here to China, when I got there, I would still be there. That situation was not going to change, so I couldn't run from it. And God kept singing to me and encouraging me, and I didn't want to hear songs, and I didn't want any more encouragement, because I knew if I was encouraged, then I would get back up, and getting back up means you're getting back up into the fight again. I didn't want strength to fight anymore. I wanted it to be over. I wanted it to change. I wanted to go back to the way things used to be. And this is where we miss what's happening on all these other levels. The way things used to be is also saying who I used to be. And when I say I just want to be who I used to be, what I'm also saying is I don't want to grow. I don't want more meaning and fulfillment in my life. I don't want the richness of life. I don't want to reach my highest potential. I want to go back to the way things used to be. Me blending in, or living on the surface, or accepting, or settling, or into the hoping, the dreaming, wishing state, always dreaming about the dream versus living the dream. I want things to be the way they used to be. And we have to pay attention to what we're really saying when we say that. So when we have these physical experiences and circumstances, we have to understand, and Tichet, like you said to me recently, now when things happen, me and my family, we're always looking for what good we can extract from it. A lot of times in our circumstances and in our lives, we can't change what has happened, but we can get something good from it that we can use to enhance our lives going forward. Why go through something and come out with nothing that you can use to enhance your life going forward, or better your life, or give you more meaningful, fulfilling experiences? There has to be something, because there was not just unfavorable experiences happening, there were some favorable things going on as well. You have more clarity. The shifts that you were trying to make in your life come with ease now. You don't have a problem of letting go of some relationships. You used to struggle with it. You were connected to it. Well, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, or I don't want to always seem like the bad guy, or I don't want to make them feel like, or think that I feel like I'm better than them. When you go through something in life, a defining moment, you don't think about any of that anymore. You cut the cord. When you realize that you don't belong in certain spaces in your life and in certain relationships and environments, when you go through something and life whoop your tail and you feel that real pain, you don't play around with it. You're like, okay, this person, I know I need to shift the relationship in this area. This environment, I know I don't need to go there anymore. This environment, I know I need to be over here. I need to engage and connect over here. You're quick to make decisions that are right for you. You're quick to make decisions that bring balance and harmony. The number one thing when you're going through a defining moment, the number one thing that you seek is peace. You just want peace. And after the defining moment and the experience, and you become this new version of yourself, you don't have a problem making decisions that foster peace, that bring you peace. Think about that. So while you were talking to Shet, I was taking some notes on some of the things you were saying. And what was coming up for me was, like, for example, when things fall apart, they don't come back together like they used to be. So when a defining moment happens and it breaks your heart, that's what Beyond the Break is all about. These episodes is supporting you and giving you the mental tools that you need to function after a break, to live life beyond a break, not just a heartbreak, but a break in a success as well. Because maybe we don't mention that too often, but let me shine the light on that. A break in a success. You have this goal, you do what you have to do to reach the goal. You go through some things, you learn some things, you come out better, you're more powerful and stronger and clear. But there was a lot that went into reaching that level of success, meaning you expended a lot of energy in that direction. You stepped into a lot of it. You have to step into energies in order to reach success. The energy of courage, the energy of confidence. These are spirits and energies that you have to step into. So a lot of people wait to feel these things before they move, but attractive thinkers, we activate them. We step into them in order for us to get to these other levels of our lives. So that's energy. You feel that when you have it, and when it's gone, you feel that as well. So you're putting a lot of time, energy, effort, and money, and clarity, and thought, and emotion into these goals that you have. When you reach that goal, after you reach the goal, now what? You step into, you feel that because you're not in the energy of accomplishing and reaching the goal and anticipating the goal and preparing for the goal and all of that. So what energy are you in now? Now you feel the energy drop. So now that's what I mean when I say a break in a success. You're between two goals now. You're between two beings, who you used to be trying to reach this goal and who you are now that has accomplished this goal. So how do you live between successes? A break in a success. How do you function? Now, let me make it practical for you. Students go through it. You graduate high school and you're going into college and your world is turned upside down. Everything is new and different. Whereas you used to depend on your teacher, giving you structure and outlines and telling you due dates and when this is due. Now in college, you don't have that. You have a professor. You have to schedule your day, and you don't have your parents telling you, okay, you need to come home at this hour tonight, or you need to go to bed because you have school tomorrow. All of that is now up to you. How do you handle life between these two worlds? Again, you get into college and you start acclimating yourself to that environment and those accomplishments. Now that you graduate college, how do you live between those two successes? I've heard college students say, I graduated and I felt nothing. All of that effort that you put in for 4 years, all of that discipline and growth and changes that happen in your life, and the deadlines and the late nights and trying to crash and accommodate and showing up. After you graduate and walk across the stage, now what? What's really going on here? So that same transition happens when you leap from one job to another, or transitioning from a job to an entrepreneurship, or leaving prison. The same experience happens when you're leaving one season of your life into another. Living from living as a single person to now living as a married person, living in this state or country to now living in that state or country. The same transition happens, and we need to know how to function. Leaving the military, it's the same experience. How do you go from living a military lifestyle, being trained to kill, always watching your back, looking for the enemy, being sharp and keen in certain areas and disciplined? How do you go from that to now living a civilian lifestyle, with people who aren't a threat, where you don't have to watch your back all the time? How do you transition? So this is why the attractive thinker movement exists, to give you the tools that you need to live beyond the break. Leaving the military, going back into civilian life, there's a break there. There's a gap. How do you live beyond the break? Moving from high school to college and college into real life, how do you live beyond these gaps, beyond these breaks? Meaning you're shifting identities. You were a high school student, you were a college student, now you're an adult. How do you live beyond these transitions, these shifts, these major shifts that happen in your life? You need mental tools for that, because it's possible to leave the military and still have a military mindset, and you're functioning in your home like you were in the military. It's possible to graduate high school and still function in college like you're a high school student. No discipline, waiting for somebody to tell you what to do. And that never happens, because your professor comes in and teaches the lesson, and he grades the paper when you turn it in, if you turn it in. He's not going to micromanage you. So how do you manage life beyond a break in your identity? You're shifting from one identity to another all throughout your life. This is why Beyond the Break exists, to support you in doing that. So that's what's really going on. So now when you experience something in your life, a situation, an encounter, a defining moment, something unexpected, don't just look at it on the surface. Remember, attractive thinker, that you're multidimensional, and there are things shifting and moving on other levels in your life that you're not aware of. It's beneath your radar. So you have to have an attractive thinker eye. You have to step into the energy of the attractive thinker in order to cite these things that are happening, in order to be aware, in order to discover what's really going on under the surface. Back to you, Tichet.
Man, you said so much, a mouthful, but I want to talk about for a minute that transitioning mindset that we have, right? When you're in transition from one state to another state, that in between state is just as important
Yes.
as the last state and the forward state. For instance, where let's say we're talking right now, right? The breath that I take in between the words, the silent in between each word, is just as powerful and as important as the last sound and the next sound I make, because that's where the defining moment happens. That's where the definition comes in. The contrast of all of our lives is just as important as the light part of our lives, because all of it is shifting and shaping. Our transition mindset has to be trusting and open and willing, because sometimes we have to be set back in order for us to see the whole picture. Sometimes we're so into moving and moving and moving and moving and moving that we don't get a chance to look all around. So when we hit that breaking of success, we get a chance to see the things as a whole. We can't take our breaking of success and keep focusing on the last successes. We take that breaking of success, and while we are looking at our last successes and taking the lessons and the blessings, we're building for the next success, right? We have to take advantage of that time. And I remember when I was in a break in a success, and I would sit there and I would feel like empty and like nothing was going on. I would think to myself, okay, let me enjoy my downtime now, because it's going to come a time where I'm going to want to chill and I'm going to be too busy to chill. So let me take advantage of this time to learn and to heal and to grow and to figure out myself, and not rush it, trying to get to the next success, because the time in between each successes is just as important. And I think sometimes we want to rush in between success because we want to tell our story. But when we allow our stories to evolve the way that they are, we understand that life has a certain beat going on, and that it has to take its time in order for it to develop in the way that it needs to be. If we had our way, it would go success. Like I said earlier, it would go. That's how the success would go. If we had our way, but sometimes it's dum dum dot dot dum dot, and then silence, and then boom boom bop bop boom bop. Like our life has a beat to it, and once you understand the beat of life, you know that in between the breaks, there's definition, there's build up, but we know another success is coming. That's what we have to remember while we're in a transitioning mindset, is that that's not the end of our success. What we succeeded in last time, that's not it. Yeah. That's not all there's going to be. Like, is this done? Is that the end of me? No, it's not. In this breaking the success, this is actually the beginning of the new you. Like you said, with schooling and coming out of high school and coming out of military, you're transitioning from an old mindset to a new mindset. Now the question is, why have a mindset to begin with? Because life is more than what we know. We're here to experience. We took on these physical bodies full of senses so that we can experience the fullness of life. We get to smell certain things. We get to, how when you see babies and they pick up something and they looking at it and they examine it and they smell it and they taste it and they touch it, they're using their senses to make sense of what is or what it is not, right? But sometimes it's more to it than that. We know that when they take a certain thing and they pick it up, sometimes it's not what they think it is. Sometimes they'll put it in your mouth and it's not meant to go to that particular sense. Well, the same thing with life. Life is more than what we think it is. And sometimes we think that we're supposed to be doing things this way, but this is calling you over here. But if you holding on over there, you're missing the opportunity to see what it is. If you insist on having your life be so superficial, you're missing the depth of what your life could be. You're missing the buildup of what your life could be because you're holding on to the superficial value that was set before you decided to become great. You shifted from good to great. You want to hold on to the good. Yes, the good is good. But when you're called for greatness, sometimes you got to let go of good.
My God.
You know, we say it's easy to let go when things are horrible. When they're bad, it's easy to let go. But strength is when you can let go when it's good.
Girl, say that again.
That is strength right there. When you can let go of something when it's good in order to become great, that's gift, that's talent. That is strength right there. Because anybody can jump off of something that's bad. It's like, oh, the wolves are coming after me and I'm running and I gotta jump off this cliff to escape the wolves. Anybody can do that, but can you jump off the cliff in order to fly when nothing is chasing you?
My God.
When it's time to fly. When it's time to fly and nothing is chasing you, you'll keep questioning. I wonder if I'm gonna land. I wonder if I can fly. What if the wind go beneath my wings? And da 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 da. When something is chasing you, you take your chances. You'll just jump. I'm going. So what happened with that move is I got pushed out from one identity to another identity. And as I transitioned in that move, again, my spirit was transitioning, my identity was transitioning, the things I was learning was transitioning, the things I understood was transitioning. Next thing you know, I woke up different and everything around me was different, including my address. Everything looked different, everything felt different. And I realized that manifestation happens in all areas at the same time. Yeah. So while it was coming up in my spirit, it was coming up in my money, it was coming up in my relationship, it was coming up in every area in my life. So I was rebuilding life in the breaking the success. I was rebuilding life mentally. Now that I've built mentally and I got myself energized and ready to and geared up to move spiritually, as I was moving, all the things that I've learned in the breaking of success is now coming out and contributing to the outcome for this next identity. So all that you do in between high school and college, all that stuff is going to matter. All that stuff is how it would makes your transition a little bit better. What you do when you come home from being military to civilian, what you do in that between time, it matters because now you have the time to set yourself in place. You get the time to find the balance. You know, how do you know where the line is between the hot and cold for where you're supposed to be? Both exist at the same time. There's hot, there's cold. There's none without the other, right? You have hot, you have cold. Where is the line for that balance, for that hot and that cold? It differs for every single person because you might like it a little more warm, where I might like it a little bit more cool, depending on our comfort level. But when we engage with each other, we find a balance where it's not too hot for you and too cold for me, that nobody has to do misery. This is how you do life with people. You find balance, and you find balance based on what the whole picture is in the room. Based on the whole picture, you find that balance, right? You have the good, you have the bad, you have the this, and you have the that. Everything in between is just as important. And if you know that everything in between is just as important and you're doing life with people, you all figure out what that in between means, what in that breaking that success means. And then when you're ready to go for your next success, everything you learn in that specific environment or in that specific mindset or in that specific transition will matter when you get to the next success. So we're not spending our whole lives holding on to the last successes that we did. Oh, and I used to, and I used to, and I used to, and I used to. At some point, you're going to become bored with the used to, and you're going to desire to want to, or to being willing to. So in order to do that, something had to take place to transition you there. So it's never the situation It's never about the situation. It's the background, the basics, the depth. It's all
Mm,
of it
mm, mm,
that leads up to where your next success is going. You came here to enjoy life. You
mm,
came here because you wanted to live. What does live what does live mean to you? Because living means different to different people. What
mhm.
makes you feel alive might not make me feel alive.
Yes.
So you have to discover for you, why did you come here? What does live mean? And sometimes it takes the breaking of success for you to know that. Sometimes it takes for you to go without to understand what you need to have with you. Sometimes you don't understand the value of something until it's gone.
Mm,
Sometimes you don't understand where you're supposed to stand until you become lost. And
mm,
when you get lost, you're trying to find your way back. You're paying more attention to where you are. Okay, where am I? Where did I stand? Where am I going? Where am I supposed to be over there? What's going
mm.
on, where normally you would just be sitting there just existing. We attractive thinkers, visionaries, we are not here to just exist with
Mm,
everybody else. If you call to the Beyond the Break, all of these messages, you are not here to just exist. You
mm.
are here to feel alive.
My
You are
God.
here to live. And if you don't feel alive, the circumstances and the situation that is coming up in your life is meant to help you graduate from being existence to being alive. But
Yes.
you got to be open and understand that in order for you to have that transition in mindset, you have to be accepting of what's really going on. Back to you, Dr. Tony.
Wow. Oh my God, Tichet, that is so, so true. So many wonderful things you said. Attractive thinkers, I don't have to say it. I'm sure you captured these gems on your own. This is a very powerful episode, and it's one worth listening to and watching again. I encourage you to watch this message again, okay? Because I'm sure the gems that you captured, there were more. You're going to capture more the second time you hear it and the third time you hear it. Tichet, you said the break in a success is the beginning of a new you. That's a perception shift. So from now on, attractive thinker, what's really going on when you encounter circumstances and situations and breaks in a success or a heartbreak, and you're not sure how to handle it or it catches you on the blind side, understand that it's developing a new you. It's producing a new you. Look at it from a different viewpoint. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? Sometimes the questions that we ask are more powerful than the answers that we seek. Think about that. When you experience your defining moment, you have answers that you desire, but sometimes it's the question that you ask that's more impactful than the answers that you seek. So ask yourself, the next time you experience a circumstance or situation or something disappointing or a distraction, it doesn't have to be anything painful. It can just be a subtle disappointment, a distraction, something to knock you off of your game. Ask yourself before you respond, say, what's really going on here? That opens you up to see deeper than what just happened or what you just experienced. Something very powerful that you said, Tichet. When you're called for great, it's hard to let go of good. Sometimes, or should I say most of the time, change becomes easy when it hurts bad enough, or when you feel like the situation that you're in is a bad situation. It's easier to move out of that situation when you feel like it's easier to move into a great situation when you feel like the one that you have is not so great. But what if it's good and there's nothing wrong? No fights, no arguments, no disappointments, no frustrations, but you feel like you're being called to greater. Tishet, you said strength is when you have it good, but you're being ushered into great. You said it takes strength to take the leap when you're not being chased, when nothing's running after you, when the waves aren't high, the water is still. It takes strength to leap into greatness when you already have it good. One of my coaches said one time, and this is public, she said it online in a video, that she changed the whole face of her business. And her colleagues around, and then she was very successful. I believe she was making 9 figures. She was very successful with the business that she created. But her colleagues around her said, why would you do such a thing? You're already successful. The people already identify you as this particular business, and you already have faithful supporters. The money is flowing in the areas where you wanted it to flow. Why would you change that? And her response was, she had an inner calling. She felt an inner desire to go higher. And she was willing to take the risk of losing her current followers so that she could become something and someone totally new. She changed the name of her business, the logo, the whole face of her business. She even changed what she was offering. All of her programs and things, she changed it. That's risky when you're making 9 figures. That's very risky, but she believed in her inner self. She believed in her inner guidance. She was willing to reach for great and leave what was good. You don't have, see, a lot of times we think we have a right to, or we deserve to, or we should, or we've been approved to or validated to leave something because it's bad. What if it's good? What if it's good that you're being called to leave so that you can step into great? Do you have the courage to leave a good thing so that you can have a great thing? These are the things that I want you to think about. This is what Tichet and I are sharing with you today. So what's really going on? This is what's really going on. We have some choices and decisions to make. Are you willing to take the risk and leave your good life so you can have a great life? Nothing has to be going on. People say, well, why, girl, why you leave that situation? You had that good. Or dude, really? Everything was working. Why are you trying to upset things and rock the boat and make waves? Because we're following our inner guidance. There's a power inside of us that's always leading us to greater, so that we can reach a greater expression of ourselves and reach more potential and be more of who we're called to be. This is not it. Whoever you are right now at this level, there's more. You said, well, Dr. Toni, how do you know? Because you're an endless being. There's no end to you. Okay, so what? You're an author. So what? You're an entrepreneur. There's more. So what? You're successful. So what? You have things good. What about great? Do you have the courage to be great? That's what's really going on. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. Remember to go to Amazon and grab the Attractive Thinker Experience. It's a 726-page transformational experience created just for you to give you the mental tools that you need and the support for mindset maintenance. You have to maintain the level of mindset that you climb to, that you gravitate and grow to. You have to maintain that. It's all wrapped up in the Attractive Thinker Experience on Amazon. Visit our website, theattractivethinker.guru, and get your free audios and videos. There's some free resources there to support you in turning your problems into your solutions. Tichet, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager.
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers, visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so that you can live a life of fulfillment beyond the break. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers, visual encouragers, you hear us say it all the time. Our life's work, that's to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through. It's how you're doing. Think attractively. We'll see you soon.